everyone, my name is Ava. I am one of the current graduate assistants for professional school advising through the Career Center here at A&M. And today I'm going to touch on clinical hours. And this is kind of in regards to medical school. Different professions will have different kind of ideas of what they're wanting as far as clinical hours, but I'm going to go into depth for medical school and what they're wanting. And I am doing this because clinical hours is kind of a umbrella term, as I call it. There are different ways you can get clinical hours. So, first, for what counts, that would be working, volunteering, and shadowing in a clinical setting. So, it's really up to you at the end of the day to decide, even in a volunteering role, do you think it's more community engagement, like not healthcare, or do you think it's more healthcare? It really depends. I would say generally, as long as you're in a healthcare setting, as long as you're interacting with patients, those activities will totally be fine there. So, first, for working. Working in a medical setting can show medical schools that you are able to not only interact with patients, but also handle responsibilities that come with working, just in general at any place. Of course, like having a job, you have responsibilities, right? And also, working as part of a healthcare team it's a really important skill. It's a really kind of unique thing. So showing medical schools that you're able to do that and you understand, how teams work in regards to like patient care can be really, really helpful. It can be helpful to get a certification, such as your MA, your CNA, EMT, etc., but it is not absolutely necessary. I will say that a lot of people do pursue certifications because it opens doors for more jobs, but there are places, for example, like private clinics might be willing to hire somebody as a medical assistant without their, CMA. So just consider that. Do not feel like you absolutely need to get a certification, as they do cost a lot of money typically, and they take up some time. But just know that these resources can help you get in the door at more places if you are wanting to work in a clinical setting. Next is volunteering. So the big plus of volunteering, which is different from working, is that volunteering in a clinical setting shows that you are, interacting with patients, but you're also committed to serving your community. A lot of schools are really big on that service aspect. And you can volunteer at a lot of different places. It can be hospitals, hospice centers, free clinics, private clinics if they have volunteers, and more. If you go to our website, which is opsa.tamu.edu, you can check out our volunteer opportunities handout, and we have a list of different places in the area that take volunteers, and that can just help give you some more ideas as well. Lastly is shadowing. So, shadowing physicians shows medical schools that you're exploring what your career will look like as a future physician. And if you are pursuing shadowing, try to get at least two or three specialties, I would say. You definitely don't want all your clinical hours or most of them to be shadowing. But if you can get at least two or three, then that can show schools that you really are putting yourself out there and exploring the different options. And if you want to attend a DO program, make sure you shadow DO physicians. And they want to know that you want to be a DO and you understand the difference between DO and MD. So it's just kind of a side note there. Make sure that you are looking into DO shadowing if you want to go to a DO program or you're interested in that. So overall, it can be hard to get clinical hours for some people, especially if you are doing your classes here in College Station. You probably are aware that there's tons of students and not that many clinics. And, there's a ton of hospitals here that support all the students that want to go volunteer and want to work. But what I recommend you do is, first, utilize your connections and be persistent about pursuing clinical opportunities. So even if you're back home for a break, think of if you have any family friends who are physicians or even your own physician, go and talk to them. Utilize your connections. Do not rely on just going online and Googling things and calling people. Sometimes you're going to have to put yourself in kind of uncomfortable situations, and even just people will drive around to different clinics and see if they're taking anyone to shadow or to work, for example. So be persistent about that. Of course, be respectful of healthcare providers and their time and their offices and everything, but be persistent. Finding clinical hours is something you need to do, even though it's difficult. That does not mean, medical schools are gonna, feel bad for you and be like, oh, it's okay. They had a hard time finding hours. No, because people are able to find hours. So it's doable, but you have to be persistent. And throughout all your clinical experiences, other than shadowing, I would say you want to focus on having direct patient care experience and you want to aim to have a positive impact on the patients that you interact with. So, even if you're volunteering, you want to find roles that, if possible, you're able to, again, like interact directly with the patient. If you're at a hospital, but you're doing something administrative and you're just filing paperwork and you're not talking to anybody at all, that's not going to be as valuable as volunteering in that same hospital, even at a front desk and talking with patients. So, medical schools want to see, again, like I mentioned, you are able to interact with patients. So, finding that direct patient care experience is really, really important. Different schools, they usually won't post it online if they require direct patient care experience, but a lot of schools are looking for specifically direct patient care experience. So make sure that you are prioritizing that in your kind of pursuit of clinical hours. And, ultimately, you want to reflect on your clinical hours and you want to be able to verbalize how these experiences are going to shape you into being a kind and competent physician. So, you know, even if you do tons of clinical hours and you have a great time but you're not able to really write that into your application, you're not able to verbalize that, what you learned, what you saw, what you appreciated about it, and that's not going to be very valuable. So I encourage you to even keep like a little journal that can be a literal paper journal or it can be, something online like a Google Docs or something, and reflect on these experiences you're having. Reflect on patient interactions that you're having. Take note of really impactful ones. There are ones that you can mention, later on in applications or interviews. You want to be able to speak to these experiences. And what would be terrible is if you did lots of hours, didn't really reflect on it, and then you're asked about it in an interview and you have nothing to say. Like you want always to have something to say about all the experiences you list, especially your clinical ones. So just consider that and make sure to give yourself that proper time to reflect when necessary. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that answered any questions you might have on what counts as clinical hours, what you should be focusing on. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. This is our phone number here, and this is our email, and our website is opsa.tamil.edu. We have lots of great resources there, and those are available 24/7. But yeah, other than that, have a great rest of your day and good luck on your journey towards medical school.